Good morning and welcome to Navigating Complexity, the podcast where we talk about life, business, and the law. I am your host, Danielle Dudai, and I am the owner of Dudai Legal, a business law firm where we handle all types of contracts, business transactions, and litigation. Today on the podcast, we have Cole Spicer. Welcome to the podcast, Cole.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm excited to do this.
Yeah. So let's get started with what is it that you do?
Okay, yeah. I'm the owner of Echo Studios, the podcast studio we're at right now. We do podcast filming, editing, and publishing. And then as of lately, we specialize in short form social media clips.
What does that mean?
Short form social media clips, just any reels, clips, 60 to 90 second. It could be 2 minutes. So the specialized part is because some people just want clips, some people want to come in and just record a bunch of clips. And what I always sell is you can come in for an hour, have a conversation, then you have 10 clips and you're good for a month.
That's cool.
So some people, it's that was something, we'll talk about it.
So you don't have to come into this studio and do a full podcast. If you wanted to, you could come in here and just record whatever kind of social media content, little video clips. That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yep.
How did you get into that?
The business?
Yeah.
So I graduated college and I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was an advertising major because it was easy and you didn't have to take business, finance, math. It was the truth. I just am horrible at math and
I can relate. I had a similar experience. I actually went to business school and the worst part of it was all the math and the finance classes. And the irony is I ended up with a finance minor. So I can appreciate the math trauma.
I always joke about it in college because it's just the easiest. It's not far from business in terms of degrees. Business sounds a lot better, but you had to take a class where a D is passing and these kids are dying over it. So I was like, look, I don't need this. So I was an advertising major. I graduated, but with an advertising major, your entry-level job is not pretty sick. So I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I didn't want to rush into a job because I had a bunch of friends that were already in jobs, and they were all trying to get out like a year older. So they were already a year into their job, and they were so drained from hating their job, they couldn't find a new one. So I was like, all right, I'm going to take it slow. And I got an internship at a podcast studio through a friend. It was just a free internship. And I noticed how it's a growing business, but while I was there, I was a free intern. So I was just doing free labor over there. Didn't know what I wanted to do. And guys would come in and they'd get 4 views on a podcast. And they're paying a good amount of money. It's not a cheap thing to do. And they're like, why? And I was like, well, you got to the clips. It's funny. I always say the clips, but you got to take your best part and put it out there. Because if no one knows who you are, it's hard to get them to watch an hour. So I started doing clips for people over there. And I kind of had a few clients. And then I started to record mobilely. So I'd go to their office and record a podcast. And then one of the guys that worked there, which we'll get into, he was like, because it wasn't great what they were doing, but it was a good business. It was the bar was so low and they were still doing well. So I was like, if you really just put a lot of effort into this, it could be great.
Yeah.
I think, not to bash the business, but they were trying to go scale and make because they had one of the they were one of the first people to be podcast studio, one-stop shop, come in, come out, because podcast is blowing up. But they went out and tried to make 8 across the country and the quality fell. So anyways, I was like, let's go do it. We came and did it. Started. You don't realize that nobody wants to just come with you to your business, and especially being younger, I feel like. So
you mean clients didn't necessarily want to trade where they were?
Exactly. And a lot of them were stuck in a year long, so there's no point in just leaving the money that you spent.
Do you think that was the biggest hurdle to taking clients with you when you started your own business, the fact that they had pre-existing contractual obligations? Or do you think they were just scared to take a risk?
I'd like to think so, but we also didn't, there's no credibility. So, and that's something I wish I knew sooner was, and this is just what I realized with business, but an empty studio does nothing for you.
Of course.
Yeah. So what I wish I didn't, obviously I give myself some slack because I know better, but getting the right people in to just try it and get it out there, because if no one sees your product there, and especially no one's just going to come over and be like, oh, it's a couple thousand, come sign up, you know what I mean? And they don't know what it looks like or anything. So I didn't understand, I guess, sales, a lot of things with business, but probably, yeah, people having to trust that, I guess, but also like, yeah, they're stuck in you. If it's sufficient, you don't want to leave your money. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I see that. I see that a lot in business, that people tend to actually be very risk averse, right? They're not willing to do something a little bit new or different because the devil they know,
Hmm.
right? Like they know what they're getting there, even if it's just satisfactory. And the idea that something could be even better than satisfactory, you could level up, if you
Hmm.
go with coal, is like, oh, okay, that sounds great in theory, but it's not safe. It's not a safe decision. And a lot of people stay in safe. But growth and comfort cannot coexist. You can't stay in the safe zone, expect, bigger and better. It just doesn't work. So I applaud you for, taking that risk and starting your own business. That's huge. So what did you find to be like the biggest hurdles when you started your business here at Echo Podcasting?
I don't know. I don't think not knowing anything. Yeah, like I always say like it's crazy because out of anything I've done in my life, you don't learn anything quicker than business, in the sense that like, because it's trial and error and it just sucks. But there's nothing you can do about it unless like,
I mean, I think
unless you have like some good like mentors or like that can really just point you at what to do. Sorry, what were you gonna say?
I was going to say, I think that it's important, though, to acknowledge that you really don't learn and get that experience until you have challenges. Because if everything is smooth sailing, right, how do you really know what is the thing that's propelling you,
Yeah.
right? You can't appreciate the wins until you've had the losses, because that loss teaches you where your errors were, right? So that whole concept of trial and error is exactly what you need to be able to become more savvy and build the space and have the client base, because how can you possibly know what you need to do to continue to grow your business if you haven't found out what doesn't work?
Yeah, no, exactly. And starting business, like it shifted like my kind of like perspective on a lot of things, like in life, I guess. Cause
Like what?
like just like being like hard on yourself, you know what I mean? Like my everything got a lot easier when I realized like I'm only making progress, because I would tell myself that in the sense where I was like, look, if this thing failed, because I always joke, like I got into this business and I
Hmm.
was like, I want to do it because I had a job in nightlife in college and you make a lot of money. So you
Yeah.
lose the concept for a dollar.
Mhm.
So then when I came out and I was like, I want to start a business, like it was like basically all the money I had, but I was like, if it fails, I'm 23 and then I can always make it back. You know what I mean? It's
For
not the end of
sure.
the world. So that's why like the whole risk thing, I was just like, I'm always like, I was dumb with money, but like, I guess that's why I did it. But
But that's the time to take risks.
yeah.
When you don't have, a big mortgage and kids and other people that are depending on you, you're young, you're fresh out of college. Yeah, that's the great attitude to have.
Hmm.
Now's the time. Go full speed, put all your money into it, and hope your business succeeds, because you're going to be betting on yourself. But if it doesn't, then you pivot and you do something else.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I think everything I learned was so valuable in the sense that like if I were to start another business, like let's say this failed today and I just like would start another business down the road, I would know like I didn't lose money. I learned a ton. You know what I mean? Like how to get everything set up with your business, with like the government, you know what I mean? And then like getting your Google up and then networking and like what it
Yeah.
kind of takes. So you learn so much that like people can tell you what to do, but you kind of learn the skill of it, I guess.
Right.
I always tell my friends now, and like I don't know, it might sound like not arrogant, but when you're out of college and like you see employers, there's like a weird barrier that like you're nervous, you know what I mean? But after like networking with adults and meeting them, you realize like it's just like
It's just
it's
people.
not
Yeah.
that big a deal. Like it's just
Right.
serious. I always joke like I feel like I'd be all right in like an interview process now. You know what I mean? Like cuz like you have some weird barrier of intimidation, but then like you meet them and it's like you kind of like are just like you talk and you hit it off and that's it. Like they like you, they want to work with you. You know what I mean?
No, you're 100% right. There's so much to be said about, forget what's on paper on a resume, but it's the person that you're hiring, right? So who cares what's on paper? If you gel with them, if you go to this interview and they like you and you guys are getting along, that's where a large component of that decision of whether they're going to hire you. And I totally agree with you. You become more self-assured when you have to go through business and struggles on your own. So who you are now is totally different than who you were a couple years ago. And if you ever did need to interview for something, that fear isn't there also because you have bet on yourself and you've been successful in business. So if you don't get that job or that position or that consulting role or whatever you're interviewing for, it's not the end of the world for you because your whole life isn't dependent on it, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm sure that that's probably what people go through when they are in interviews. I remember when I used to interview for jobs, a long time ago, there would be this sort of like wait because this is everything, right? Like, what's my alternative if I don't get hired somewhere? But
Yeah.
after years, after being a lawyer for 6 or 7 years, when I did interview or get called to like join another firm, it was a different dynamic. It was very much more like a conversation between peers, you know?
Yeah. I don't know. I think exactly. I think the whole, not like personality, but I think that aspect goes a lot further than like your credentials sometimes too. Like,
Yeah.
it's like, and also something I always say with business, like you can read people, like, and I always use the word hack and it's not nice, but you could tell when someone starts talking to you if they're a hack and like they're just
100%.
bullshitting you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You could tell instantly. And you learn a lot about people just doing business. Cause like I was, I was telling, because I always talk to my brother about stuff like this, but I was telling him, like, when I first started and I was talking about an empty studio, like, I'd get people in here that wouldn't benefit me. And they're like, oh, I've, like, realized if someone says what they can do for you, but when you first meet them, it's like, dude, I don't do anything for someone when I first meet them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so then this guy, like, I don't know, it's kind of bashing, but, like, he came in, like, I can do all this for you. And I was like, all right, man. Like, I just knew it right away. But, like, I was like, 6 months ago, I would have thought this guy could really help me out.
Right.
It's just that the learning, that's the thing, is like, yeah, like if I would lose money, but like the stuff I learned, it only helps you. Like I always say, like when the 30th day of the month, you learn so much from the first, just in
For
one
sure.
month. But yeah, the thing I was gonna say about like the life thing is, what's weird is like I'll get like Snapchat memories, and because like a year ago today, I was looking at this place to like build out. You know what I mean? And looking in like realizing that like a lot can happen in a year, and like if you keep just pushing, I guess, because like today's the most shows I have like ever, like in a day. And it's just because I'll be so hard on myself, but then I'll realize like a year ago this wasn't even built and I didn't have a business. And like I don't know, it's like a weird shift in perspective on like, you know what I mean, like
No,
you're
yeah,
doing a
you're
lot better than you
reframing.
think.
Right. Look, the time is going to pass anyway.
Yeah.
What are you going to do with it? And to your point, you either win or you learn, right?
Mhm.
That's it. And if you are learning, that's helping you get that progress and see where you're going to be a year from now. And a year from now, you're going to be even further ahead and even more successful. And I think a large part of that is because you're betting on yourself, right? So, leading up to owning this studio and starting podcasting, what do you think was like the most impactful advice you had received to propel you to be successful in business, if anything at all?
Before I started the business,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I went into it so blind that it was kind of a good thing.
Okay.
Like my family all works together, right? And I just didn't want to work with my family's business. Like, I mean, they're great and like everything. It's just like they yell at each other and it's business, you know? And I was like, I don't need that. And I always want to do something kind of fun. I don't know if this is the end all, but I think I went into it so blind, like the whole like bet on yourself thing. And I was like, oh, if it's whatever, I'll figure out a job. You know what I mean? It's not the end of the world. I think that is why like it's a good thing. You know what I mean? It was just
For
like I was
sure.
so naive and I just didn't know because I didn't understand what comes with owning a business. Like there's so much. So I don't know. I've always done that. Like even in school, like I would just like throw myself into something and then I have to commit. You know what I mean? It's hard for me to motivate myself, but then
Okay.
if I like sign myself up to do something, I'll figure it out. But that's like the way I don't know, I've always been with stuff. So I've realized that, I guess, but
So, what do you think were some of the biggest challenges you had early on in owning this business?
um aside from not knowing anything, um
Well, let's take it step by step, right? How did you form your business? And then how did you navigate any like tax issues or business licenses and that type of thing?
okay. Business licenses was my family definitely helped me and like
Mhm.
definitely because they have a business, so they're like, "Oh, you need to do this, renew this." But like a lot of it, I know because I remember like the first month I was open, I didn't have I didn't tell the city I was open, but we'll keep that we'll keep that out. But like I didn't know stuff like that. Like I didn't know what SunBiz was or any of that. A lot of AI I was using for that, but I don't like as far as just setting up the business, nothing. You know, my parents were like, you got to do this and this and this, and then
So you really just like leaned on people that you trusted
yeah,
to help you navigate starting the business in
yeah,
terms of the regulatory admin stuff, not the fun stuff with the internal
yeah. I'm trying to find a
podcasting, but
better
just
answer for you, but I think that's
but
all it
I think
was.
that's
It's a
enough.
very simple business too, and there's not a lot of moving parts. With with you really just there's rent and there's a little bit of overhead. You know what I mean? Because it's
Right.
like there's not a lot of money in, money out kind of thing.
Right.
So like I do my own books. Like I've just started to like I just got someone and because I just hired someone to get like a
That's
W-2.
great.
Yeah, it's exciting, but because it was funny, you were talking about getting sick earlier, and I was like thinking if I get sick, the whole ship burns. So I need to get someone in here. But yeah, my brother does that for my parents, so he's gonna. I mean, look, my family really like supports me, and like,
But
so,
that's
which is
huge.
awesome.
That's
Yeah.
huge because I think it's important for all entrepreneurs, right, who
Mm,
are listening to this podcast. Not everybody has that same support system, but the key to it, takeaway that I'm hearing is lean on people that you trust. So even if it's friends or other colleagues, or maybe there's a business that another person is looking at, like that's similar to yours, call them. I think people would be surprised at how much there is help out there and that people are willing to give out the free help, the free advice and be, a mentor or a guide because so many of us, myself included, like I started my own firm years ago and I had no idea what I was doing. I was figuring it out as I go along and I had trusted people, right? I had one of my best friends, she had opened her own firm years before and I called her. I was like, "What am I supposed to do? Like, how do I do this? What do I need?" Right? And because I'm a lawyer, there's a little bit more regulation with it and things that are required, but I needed to get malpractice insurance. I needed to have a place to set up. I needed to get a logo. I needed a website. I needed, all of these things that I had never had an experience about before because I worked as a prosecutor. So that's not even part of that realm, right? You work for the government and that's it. You don't have any of those things. So it took a lot. But the one thing that I'm hearing you say is like you lean on people you trust. And that's really important in business, period. So I think that's great. Um, did you ever have like a business partner? Have you ever thought of having a business partner?
yeah. So when I first started, I was talking about that. There's a guy from the studio. The studio I worked at, he was like connected because he had been there for like a year almost. So
Mhm.
everyone there kind of liked him. He's like, "Oh, if we go start a studio," because I was like, "Hey, I'm thinking about doing it," because I had like was doing it mobily for some clients, which is funny because those clients never end up coming over like the mobile ones. But um, he was like, "We can go and we'll go start this business." So knowing nothing about business, I've learned a lot. I put up all the money and he was supposed to bring the people. And also we were 50-50 split. One thing I learned about business is like no business 50-50 and it should not be a 50-50 split ever.
Yeah.
But yeah, business part it's crazy because the way I look at it, and I'll get like more detail like of everything, but it's like the way it went down, I am grateful for because it was like the business partners can get ugly, but I learned my lesson for such a cheap, like not like cheap, like
No,
yeah, it could have got really like
you're
things
saying
get
that it
ugly.
could have been further down the line when this company was like super profitable
Mhm.
and it could have been much more expensive lesson to learn.
Yeah.
And I think so many people deal with this. That's what I do in my business, right? I deal with business divorces, like partners breaking up. So it happens very frequently. It's not a sign that like you're not good, right, at business just because you and your partner don't get along. Sometimes partners just don't see eye to eye. So you had a partner and it didn't work out. Um, and how did you sort of like move on from that? Like, did that impact you? Did you feel like unsure of yourself or more sure of yourself?
Um, probably pretty unsure. I think so. I'm still cool with him to this day, and which is good. Like, because
Yeah, for
it's
sure.
one of those things. Like, it wasn't bad on either side, and like we're still cool. So like very lucky for the way we got out of it. But so like I was here every day. He has another job, so like I
Mhm.
was kind of like whereas he was working, so like it was hard for him to do both. So I was like, look, I can't put up all the money and be here every day. So he signed everything over to me. I did an AI contract that you
We'll talk
saw.
about
Yeah,
those.
yeah. You weren't too excited about. But um yeah, so then it was just on me. So I was like, geez. And then there was like 2-3 months where just nothing. And then like I got so down that I was like, "All right, I gotta start trying things." I mean, we can get into like a lot of things I've tried, but we could talk more about the yeah. I mean, but no, but my partner now he still has like he works, and then his people are just commission based, which is like a great deal
Yeah.
because yeah, for the level of work he was doing, he wasn't doing that much, to be honest. And then it was like I was like, "Yeah, just I have all the money, like it needs to be my business, and anyone you bring over, you'll get paid for." It's just like that's how it
There you
should be
go.
because it's
Yeah.
like you're not over here.
Right.
But
And I think that's an important lesson for business owners, entrepreneurs to know as well, right? Like businesses are not 50-50. One person is doing more of one thing, maybe the other person is doing more of another thing. And there is such a unique skill in being able to have two people or multiple partners in a business and be successful. It's very hard. I mean, it's a relationship, it's a marriage of sorts. So it's definitely not easy. But let's talk about AI contracts, right? Because
okay,
you talked about AI a couple times. And did you ever work with a lawyer prior to meeting me?
no chance, no chance.
Why do you think that is? Did you not think you needed a lawyer or you didn't want to work with a lawyer?
Well, I don't know. To be totally transparent, I think I was 8 months, 7 months into business when I met you, and then you were telling me things, and I go, I didn't know I was supposed to be protected like that, to be honest. Like I don't know. I knew nothing, but when you were telling me that, I was like, geez, because it's like one of those things. Like when you were mentioning earlier, you're talking about like I was calling my friend, I had to get a logo and do this and this. It's like those are the things you learn that if you ever started another business, you'd be a machine and you'd be like, all right, like Google logo this, let's get a lawyer, let's make sure everything is like protected. You know what I mean?
Right.
Um, yeah. So no lawyer at all. And what's crazy is, and I don't know if this is a mistake or not. I don't know if I told you this, but we didn't have a contract. Everything was just verbal. So I don't know how that works if it goes to court. Like you can just check the banks and see all the money was mine. But the problem is yeah, so then when I wanted him out, I was like, all right, let's do a contract. And then I AI'd some contract and I'd sit there and be like, make sure I'm protected from everything. Like this is what I want. Make sure I'm protected. And then what's funny is like the contract's like a page and a half. You know what I mean? It doesn't really cover everything. And then you helped me make my podcast one. And then when it was like 5 pages and you ripped it, and it was like I was like, geez, my business contract is 10 words compared to this. So I knew nothing about the protection of it, but it's like it's so worth it now because I'm glad that I'm cool with them. There's a contract, right? But like I'd be sick to my stomach to know I made a really bad contract and I have a profitable business now. I can get screwed. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like the protection, I just had no clue was a thing. It was
That's the key, I think, with contracts, right? And AI can be so good for so many things, but it has such a far way to go with contracts and being a substitute for lawyers. I do have clients that tend to create their own things through AI, whether it's ChatGPT or Claude or whoever it is, right? And then they send me and they're like, hey, this is what I came up with. What do you think? And I try to be constructive, right? I'm saying, and I think I did that with you too, saying, hey, there's some good pieces here. And I get where you're going and what you want to do, but there's a lot of things that need to be included to do that. And then there's also things that we need to think about in a larger perspective because I think these AI contracts that are generated tend to just cover the essential components of that relationship. So you have, a contract that AI created for you that has like your podcasting studio name, a space for the client who's going to sign up. It's going to say, "Hey, we're doing this many shows or this many hours for this price. You pay on this day, you get the deliverable on this day. There's, signature." And those are the core components, but there's so many more things that surround it, right? Like what about the intellectual property of it? Like how much of that belongs to you versus the person who's doing the recording, right? What about your studio and the protection that your studio needs? What if someone breaks something in here? What if, there's so many what ifs. What if there's a lawsuit that comes about? What if there's a dispute about something? How are you resolving those disputes? And if you don't put those things in a contract, then it gets left up to going to court and just what is common practice, what's reasonable. Do we need to now have an expert talk about these things? Like it becomes so much more expensive and intensive to not have the contract than to just invest in the contract to start with.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like that's just yeah, it's one of those things. It's like I didn't know about, but there's got to be some lawyers out there that get excited to hear when someone has an AI contract,
1,000%. I mean,
right?
it's
If you want to attack it, if you want to attack an AI contract, it's crazy.
yeah, and I've done it, and I actually am not concerned about having any business taken away from me because of AI, because LegalZoom existed before ChatGPT did,
Hmm.
and LegalZoom was much more of a like templatized thing of like, oh, you're starting a business, here's a template agreement, sign your name, now you're safe. The thing is, those never do anything. The statutes, the laws in Florida, for example, that govern LLCs or corporations, they have a very good framework for the basic things, the essential components,
Yeah,
but they don't cover everything in relationships or expectations because the law is like, hey, no, freedom of business. Like, you guys do that, freedom to contract. You guys make those terms. So if you don't set those terms down and you don't have it in writing, it makes it a lot harder to go to court and say, well, this is what we agreed on, right? Because now it becomes your position versus the other person's position. And in the sense of like when you put all the money into the business, right, all the capital, yeah, you'd be able to pull bank statements and see that. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you're right about everything, right? So it does leave a lot up to doubt, and that you would ultimately have to go into a jury trial or a judge trial and have someone else make that decision. And litigation's expensive.
yeah.
It's very expensive. The average lawsuit is like $100,000,
Ugh.
and that's a simple
Just
lawsuit.
average lawsuit in general, is that what you're saying? Or like
Yeah.
like business?
In litigation, I mean, in one of my cases that was about 10 months, it was about $100,000 in fees. And that wasn't even including trial. We like got into a certain stage of the litigation and it resolved through a mediation, which is a coming together of everyone sitting down and trying to compromise, right? But I have a case that's been going on for 3 years that's well over $250,000 in fees to my firm, let alone to any other experts or attorneys that they've hired to go into more depth and sort of nuanced areas of that case. And they can be very expensive. I've recently just resolved a case relating to disputes in a contract that the other lawyer and I were both telling our clients, you guys are going to spend $100,000 to $200,000 each on fees. Just come to an agreement, because the only people that will win in that situation are the lawyers, right? Contracts don't cost that much. On your worst day, your contract's going to be $5,000, $6,000 if it's like highly complex and from scratch and all of that. So it's a drop in the bucket compared to your fees. And it really is insurance, right? You talked about it a lot, about the protections that you now have in that contract we worked on for you, right? It's insurance. It protects you. It helps draw the lines and the boundaries. And I think that's something that gets lost for other business owners. So do you have like a word of advice to business owners, or like what are your top 3 tips for business owners who are getting started or who are out there?
Well, I don't know. Going off what you said, like if I ever were to start a business with a partner, like, yeah, it's crazy. Because like it does like when I think about it, I'm like I can't imagine getting down the road and then like because there was no profit, so there's no heat
Sure.
up. It would have been a lot worse if there was profit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But um. Yeah, it's crazy because it's like a realm I didn't even know until I talked to you, and maybe I didn't know this because I like lean on my
Yeah.
parents, my family, but they're family business, so there's not a lot of like I don't know, everything's my mom's name. Like my dad shows my dad's touching the money, but like so like they don't got a lot of legal advice like that, or like like guidance, but I don't know those top 3 things in regards to just general.
Yeah.
Um.
I heard some of it already. So like one of the things you said is that you took it slow, right? Early on, about like what you wanted to do in becoming in this lane, right? Into this business. You took it slow to figure that out. I think that's important, right? That's an important tip. It's important to look at what are the things that are impacting you, what are serving you, what's not serving you. Like these people who come in through the door, they're like, I can do all this for you, right? You need to trust your gut and like be wary, right? And also to protect yourself, whatever that looks like.
Mhm.
I always recommend to consult with an attorney, but I also understand that not everyone wants to do that. I have clients that have come to me and they are multi-million-dollar businesses that never worked with a lawyer before. And they come to me because they got a demand letter, right? Someone's going to sue them. And they're like, I don't understand. Like, I've been in business for so many years. Like, why is this happening? And I said, because honestly, like, you've been lucky. You've been lucky in business. So the other tip, I think, is protect yourself. However you're comfortable with it, whether it's consulting with a lawyer, which I always recommend, or just making sure you have your insurance policies in place, or creating, your own writings, your own contracts, whatever it is. Again, I don't recommend that non-lawyers write their own contracts, even with the help of AI. But if you put something in writing to memorialize the agreement, that's better than nothing,
Mm-hmm.
And I think those are really important things for people to know, because business is tough and you can be lucky and not need a lawyer for years. But then what if you find yourself in a situation where you've got a million ARR and now you're going to get sued for something,
Yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, that's the thing is like, because obviously I'm new to business, but like you meet all these lawyers, you hear all these terms, and you're like, geez, I never want to have to, but it's almost an inevitable thing in business. It's like a cop, like you're glad they're there, but you don't really want to have to talk with them,
right. You never want to have to call on them.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, like moving forward, you know what I mean? That's definitely something. Because like I'm glad you brought it to my attention, because like I never would have been something like I would have been like, all right, because like with the AI thing, it's like AI doesn't be like, I had AI write my contract for my podcast to be like, tell everyone this is what they'll get, the services, and it's all theirs. But then you look at it and you're like, what happens if someone like knocks a camera over and breaks it? And then that's like on you. And I'm like, it's a good point too. You know what I mean? And it's like, you don't even like, I just, which I love AI, but they were so weak on the contract. It's crazy.
Yeah.
They don't be like, oh, maybe you want to do this. Like I don't know. They don't offer a lot.
I find that you can use it in certain ways, like, but you have to know what you're doing,
Mhm.
right? You have to be able to say to it, I want a limitation of liability that protects me from paying out more than a certain
Yeah,
amount
I
of
don't
money.
even know what that
right?
is.
But that's exactly the point, right? Like, most non-lawyers are not going to know that. Most of them won't. There's some entrepreneurs that have been through it enough because they've been exposed to lawyers and contracts, right, that they've picked up on those things. But if you don't know to ask that, it's not going to be in your contract, because the AI machine is like, oh, what are the essential terms of your agreement? I'm just going to put that in a piece of paper with a signature line, right?
Mhm.
So it's not going to protect you, which is why, again, like, I feel I have job security, because I am a living, breathing person that understands that. And I think about your business, right? I'm not just creating some template contract that fits any business. Your contract, what about your studio, your equipment? If people come in here, if there's things that happen, if there's a slip and fall, like, we got to talk about liability, right? We got to worry about things that are tailored to you. And AI doesn't know you, and it's not going to ask you those questions.
Yeah, I don't think AI could replace like laws. I just or not laws, like lawyers and the courtroom and stuff like that. I think it's like very like Hammurabi's code. You know what I mean? It's like then like you like the law is too literal. You know what I mean
Right.
with everything. I don't think it'd ever be like that. But I don't know. 3 things I would definitely say. I wish I knew about networking earlier. It's like networking is like 90% of business. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? It's just like if people like you and you meet them, and because you don't need to sell anything to someone. If they just know what you do and they could think it's or like, you know what I mean? Like if I ever stuff hits the fan, I know you. You know what I mean? I like you. So you're the first person I reach out to. It's just like
Right.
that's all it is. I just wish I knew like getting out there like that. I was trying to worry about like the business side of getting people just to like pay for my services. But then like the second I started like just networking and being like, hey, if you want to try it, just try it. And they're posting stuff and it's getting out there on their page. You know what I mean?
Well, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah, exactly. That's always what I tell myself, so I give myself slack. But also, I don't know. And then if the business thing, I think this is like kind of a take, honestly. But I think like, and I've realized this lately, like niche businesses are like kind of the future, if that makes sense. Like people that have really niche businesses and are really good at them. That's why I think like with the blockchain, like is so cool. And like I think it's, I don't know, like I know it's very like gray area kind of a little bit right now, but I think like if you're the blockchain lawyer, that's so cool. And I think everyone that is really good at a niche does well, I've realized. Like I met a girl who had a marketing company and she has turned it to only lawyers because she's like, I'm only good at marketing for lawyers. I'm not going to do a restaurant or something. And she has a
Yeah.
great business. And I'm like, I don't know. That's like a business take. That's not really like what I've learned in business.
No, but I think that's good. I actually had that exact conversation with my friend this morning
Mhm.
where he's like, you need to stay in your own lane. He wasn't saying that to me. We were talking about someone who had reached out to him who does not do his area of law, right? So imagine if it was like a family lawyer calling me, who's a business lawyer, saying, hey, I have this client who wants to do a business, whatever, and I want to be involved in like doing all the contracts and the transaction, but will you help me do it? And it's like very respectfully, there's a lot more to it than just me helping you. Here's a template or something, you know? So we need to stay in our lanes. Like if I specialize in business, I should be sticking with business, right? One of my subspecialties is crypto and blockchain, right? And we've talked about that. And it is a very niche area and it is gray because there's not a lot of legislation that helps people understand if I have a crypto business, this is what I do. So you need to go to a lawyer because you have to make sure that you're not violating any of these laws that can get you into a lot of hot water. But a niche business is great because you're staying in your lane and you're becoming really good at it, right? And that's going to allow you to be more successful because you hone in on what am I good at? What are my skills? What's the process? And like, who's my ideal audience, right? I'm not trying to be everything to everyone. You're focusing on this. She's focusing on marketing to lawyers. I have a friend that does the same thing with photography. She focuses on photography for lawyers and getting their headshots and their business branding shots and spends a lot of time with that and makes it more very much like this studio, like warm and comfortable and not like stiff, these like traditional like suit and
Yeah, yeah.
bookshelf type of photos, right?
Yeah.
Like much more relaxed. And it's great. She's built a whole very successful practice on that.
Mhm.
And I think it's really important to do that. I think that's a great tip, you know? Don't try to be
Yeah.
everything to everyone. Stay in your lane, specialize.
Or specialize with just lawyers. I don't know. I always I think a question I always ask like lawyers, but I think I've talked with you about it. And it's like fascinating is not the word, but like it's very interesting to me why lawyers break off and start their own business more than anyone,
Mhm.
right? But they also get things like in the business realm, they like understand it just I don't know, they're like it's refreshing, they get it, you know what I mean? And, like, I was talking with a lawyer, and they're like, "Oh, if I do 100 videos and just 1 can give me a lead, it's worth it." I'm like, "I wish everyone was kinda, like, understood that," but
Yeah.
I always wonder what about lawyers are just like, "I'm gonna break off, start my own business," more than anyone, because I always think it's so cool when someone learns something, like, whether they're an employee somewhere, they're like, "Alright, I'm gonna go try it on my own,
Yeah.
I'm good at this," you know what I mean? But, like, lawyers do it more than anyone.
I think it's a combination of factors. First of all, lawyers generally will understand value propositions. So we are a service-based business and many of us charge by the hour. So for us to charge $400, $500 an hour, we know we have to give a certain amount of value in exchange for that. So when we meet service professionals who, like when I met you and I came in here, I liked the studio, I liked the energy, I thought that you were great, very like you had a very clear answer for the questions that I had. So to me, you knew what you were talking about. And I was like, you know what? It's good. Let's go do it. This is the value. I'm not even going to balk at the price. It is the price is what the price is, right? You're setting that based on the value you're providing. So I accept that. I also accept that like you're not a miracle maker. And just because you take a clip or we do a podcast that you're going to make it become viral. That's not your job,
That's
you
maybe
know?
why I don't know, lawyers get everything I go through. Maybe that's why I like them so much. It's the
There you
truth.
go.
Yeah.
But we also, because of that, I think being in a like job and understanding value when we are working with other people and it's not working out, we're not seeing eye to eye, we're more likely to step away and start our own thing. Also, I think wanting to have more autonomy is a key part of that because we work so hard and especially in litigation, it's so intense that you want to have the ability to make your own schedule and not be responsible to someone else or beholden to certain requirements.
Mhm.
For example, it's very common in law practices that attorneys, especially of a certain level, like whether they're partners or the partner level attorneys, they have to produce a certain amount of revenue every year, right, within their firm to meet their firm minimum requirements. Um, that's a lot of what is based on compensation, bonuses, that type of thing. It can become a lot because it may not be consistent with the way that you want to practice. I want to be a certain type of lawyer. I want to be approachable. I want to be accessible. I want my clients to feel value for every single thing that I do. So when I'm billing them, they don't feel like I'm billing them just for a hello email because I'm, nickel and diming them. And it's not to say that that's a bad thing, because if you're doing a service and you're responding and you're providing value, then go ahead and bill for it. I just wanted to have the flexibility to make my clients feel that every dime that they're spending, they are feeling that equal in return. And you can't really do that when you are working with or for other people, because it's not just you, right? You have the overhead of the entire firm to worry about, as well as your own requirements. And so I think those things are often what helps propel lawyers to start their own businesses. And there are plenty of them that are just like, I don't want to work for anyone else. I want to work for myself. I want to be able to go and work on the beach from Aruba or something. I want to do my own
Yeah,
thing. I don't want to worry about having to show up in the office and wear a suit,
that's
right?
true. Yeah, I don't know. I always think it's cool. Just I don't know. After meeting lawyers, I was like, if I wasn't doing this, maybe I want to be a lawyer. But I can never get through law school at
I will
all.
tell you what I tell everybody. If being a lawyer is the only thing that's going to make you happy and it's your truest passion, then do it. But if there's anything else that will make you
Really?
happy, do that instead.
Well, I will be transparent. The last law I would practice would be business litigation. Just like, I don't know, just like the headache contract stuff is just so not me. But then, like,
Of course.
I'm not,
I mean, we
I can't
literally
sit down
fight
and
over
study. I
commas.
can't look at a
Yeah,
contract,
I get it. We literally had a conversation, my co-counsel and I, on a case where we were talking about there's no comma here, so then it means this,
Oh,
right? And
like,
that's the
get
level
me
of
out of
things
that. Give me, don't
we
even,
talk
I think
about.
I'd be like, what's the movie Few Good Men?
Yeah,
I think I'd be like Tom Cruise. That's
yeah,
how I imagine myself, like sick in court.
yeah,
Trial attorney, is that what it's called?
yeah.
Trial attorney would be cool, but I don't know.
I'll tell you, I've had a lot of trials,
Really?
and
They're not that cool.
they're not that cool.
Oh
They're
man.
not that level of cool. You don't really have those. I've definitely yelled at someone I'm cross-examining before.
Okay.
Not exactly the best move in terms
Move.
of my outward presentation. It didn't end up hurting me in the case,
Okay.
thankfully, but it sticks out as a memory of like, I wish I wouldn't have lost my cool there.
Why do they make court so cool on
I
TV?
don't
And it's
know.
just totally not.
It's just really not that at all. I mean, there are certain moments, but it's rare for you to have that, like, all of a sudden someone's just, telling you everything that they've been hiding or lying about. That's really rare, you know?
So
The
cool
cases,
though.
especially that have a lot of evidence, don't go to trial because the person knows they're going to lose,
Hmm.
right? Or the risk is extremely high for them. So they resolve it with settlement, take a plea, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
And that happens a lot. So, the really fun cases where you're like, oh my God, I have all this evidence. I have them on video doing this. That's never going to go to trial.
Yeah, that's true.
It's extremely rare for something like that to go to trial. In criminal cases, it might happen. My experience was when the offer, like a plea offer, which is what someone takes in terms of like a jail sentence, a prison sentence to resolve their criminal case, if it was so high, like 20 years or more, that they knew that that would be at least what they got at trial, sometimes they would take it to trial because it's like, what do I have to lose, right? If the prosecutor wants to give me 20 years and the minimum the judge can give me is 20 years, I might as well go to trial and maybe I'll get a lesser charge or I'll be found not guilty, right? So in those situations, you might have a case go to trial where there's a lot of evidence and you're like, I can't believe I'm trying this case because there's so much evidence.
Hmm.
But it's really a rare situation.
Yeah. I don't know. I think, yeah, that's true. Like, I'll see real court and be like, it's not that cool, but like, being at trials, being like a sick trial attorney where like they just need to hire you and you're just so good in court. That's just it sounds cool.
It sounds cool.
But that's something I'll never be.
The key to that, I think, is really having a grip on like the rules and the procedures. I really love being a litigator because I love the evidence code and it's like the rules of like what can and can't come in. It's in terms of presentation of hearsay, things like that, these common terms people talk about, whether or not this video can come in or this document or that type of thing I love because it's a puzzle,
Yeah.
and it's a challenge in that way. And am I going to be more persuasive than the other side? That's the challenge too, right? Who wins in that setting? But
I feel like a good way you could judge a lawyer is like how this is like from a very common folk like thinking. It's based off like litigation because like some lawyers like aren't like talk about litigation like I'll do it. I do it all the time. Like I'm not scared of it. Some people just like don't even want to go to like will never go to like
Yeah.
court, you know? But I don't know. I feel like I don't know. Maybe it's just like a personal injury thing. 'Cause I'm around them so much. Just like I would. There's no litigation. Just settle every single time.
A lot of those cases settle for a variety of reasons because they're also not that glamorous, and they have to be maybe like more aware of how that looks in front of a jury. What are the bad things, the good things? A lot of those cases settle out of necessity, like because it's a risk for either side to go to trial. And other cases where it's like it's not worth the time in. Most personal injury lawyers get paid when there's an insurance settlement or a
Yeah, I get
verdict,
that
right?
third.
Yeah. So for them, there is an evaluation of like if the most someone's going to get out of it is like 60 grand and the amount of time that you have to put into the litigation to get it to trial is going to far exceed that. It's just not worth the opportunity cost, right? So, and I'm not saying that that's how people look at it, but it's definitely a factor. So I think that that's definitely a consideration also. But there are plenty of personal injury attorneys that try cases all the time. That's how these landmark verdicts happen, like $20 million for a slip and fall or something. It's crazy, some of these numbers, but they happen because these people go to trial. I used to work for a firm that did the insurance defense side. And so they represented the insurance companies and like the people who had the
Yeah,
insurance
that's another one I
policy.
wouldn't want to do. Yeah.
It's a tough business for sure.
What's the most fun? Like, what's the most like? If you had to look at like another like kind of law and be like, damn, like they definitely have fun, or like it seems fun from the outside.
I think I've done them, right? So criminal law and business law. I think
Criminal
that's
law, yeah, it's true. But then I don't know, cause like if there was like some real crime, like that's a lot of
Oh
on
yeah.
psychology. I just like the leave the work at home thing. That's what I like. I leave the work at work,
Mhm.
home at home. Like I don't know if you could do that anything criminal. So
It's really tough. I worked in sex crimes for the largest part of my career,
okay,
like
yeah,
6 out of 9 years. And so I dealt with human trafficking, crimes against children, rape cases, like really scary, hard things. And it definitely wears on you, especially as a woman and seeing that type of thing happen. It is really hard. But like the most fun you have is again like talking about some of these cases that have evidence issues. Like I had a case where, the drugs that were part of this trafficking case, there was a whole argument about whether they were the same drugs that the guy was arrested with. And so to me, it's fun because it's the challenge of trying to figure out like what's true, what's not true, what is good evidence, what's not evidence. But I don't know a lot of areas of law that people are like, oh, it's super fun to
it's
do
true.
that.
I know a guy. Well, a guy came in here. I'm friends with my networking group. He does tickets. Like he's like a
Hmm.
traffic lawyer.
Yeah.
Is that what it is? Ticket. That one's cool because it's like, you're not really. There's no arguing ever. You know what I mean? You're kind of just like, because like his is like bang it out, like legal Zoom, like show up. You know what I mean? I think that one's kind of cool, but that's also like a pretty businessy. Like you gotta get a lot of leads and stuff on that one
Yeah.
too.
The thing is, a lot of lawyers who, even do criminal defense, if they get someone who calls them for a ticket, they'll take the ticket, but there are smaller or more localized attorneys who go to those courthouses every day. So like
Yeah, exactly. It's yeah.
right. And so like let's just call him Steve. Like so
Mhm.
Steve at the Delray Beach courthouse is always there, like because he's already going because he's got his stuff there. And other attorneys who aren't there as frequently see Steve and they're like, hey, Steve, give me your card. I'm going to pay you whatever it is, $25 a ticket, if you handle this for my client.
Mm.
Right. And so that guy is going to get a ton of referral business just through other lawyers who don't want to take the time out of their
Pretty
day to
cool. I
drive
didn't
to
think
that.
about that.
And so it's a great business model for those types of attorneys because they're already going to that courthouse. They're already doing that type of work. And they're just handling tickets for other lawyers, getting a small cut of it. But you do 10 tickets in a day, it's
Yeah.
$250.
He said, well, like the Zoom has changed everything because
For
now you
sure.
can just go bang, bang, bang.
Yeah.
Like you can get 1 million in a day, and they only take like 10 minutes, I think, like not even with the judge.
Yeah.
But I don't know, it's cool. But in another life, I don't think I have it in me.
I will reiterate that if doing anything else will make you happy, do that instead of law school and being a lawyer.
Yeah. Okay. I agree.
So, what do you think is a hard lesson that you learned that has shaped you as a person and now a business owner?
Um, I think like I think it's just like you get what you put in. I think that's the easiest one is like kind of because like a lot of my business, like I would just sit here. I always joke like I'd measure it by the trash. Like, and I remember when I like those months where like when I first started, I wouldn't have anyone. Like you go to take out the trash, you put the bag in on a Monday, you go to take it out on Friday, there's nothing in it, and it's like it's a kick in the stomach, right? But then, like, yeah, it just hits such a low that I'm like, it's funny. I'd measure my success by trash bags, but it's the truth.
It's
Like,
such a fascinating thing for you to share. That's so interesting.
yeah, like, cause like it's just like you go to take like let me take out the trash before I leave. Because now I do it every day, and it's sick. If it feels awesome, like having to take out the trash every day, but I'd go a whole week and I wouldn't need to. The trash bag would do 2 weeks sometimes, and it just sucks. But it's like, but you put in, and then I'm like, all right, like you hit such a low. I'm like, all right, I need to figure something out. Start networking, start trying everything. But you throw everything at the wall, you see what sticks. Like that is what I wish I knew sooner. It's like you really get out what you put in. Like if you just are trying to meet people and just like it's gonna work, you know. If you do what you can, it will like it's probably gonna be enough, you know, unless you're doing something really dumb. I think. You know what I
Do
mean?
you love what you do?
I love what I do. I think I'm starting to. I don't think I did for a while, but I think
You don't have to love everything about your job. You can love
I
parts
like
of
the
it.
progress, I think that's what makes me the most excited because I'm not, like, money driven, you know? Like, I'm not, I don't know. I'm not, like, that's the progress and the fact I always talk about, like, a year ago, this wasn't here. So, like, sitting back and being like, "That's kinda cool." Like, now I have a business and, I don't yeah,
Do you have a goal that's set for your next maybe milestone?
no. I just, like, am kind of, like, left foot, right foot, like, just like every day I keep working and then because like I don't know like I just a goal like a big goal would be like not showing up and like the business is rolling like you know what I mean
Yeah.
like not having to go into work and it's profitable that's a sick like goal but I've never really been goal oriented and like it doesn't work for me. I've tried it like write down your goals or this is where I want to be and it doesn't work. It's just like if I just do I'm like I like make a laundry list, do them. Make a laundry list, do it, and then, like, the progress will add up. That's the way it works for me, I've realized. But I don't know what this what I do like, though, is that I do like this, like, I've realized, like, talking with people, like, I is really cool because I knew nothing about, like, business litigation until I met you. Like, I didn't know anything about a contract. Like, it is cool the people you meet doing it. That is, like, the most exciting part that I like about my job. It's like I don't think I wanna be like a podcast or anything like that, but I'm starting to like I don't know, the interaction. Like, I think it's cool that, like, I don't know, like, I get very, like, in retrospect or, like but I'm young and, like, I'm sitting down with a business lawyer, I'm learning about stuff that, like, most people don't learn about until they're older, and it's like I'm doing it because it's just cool, you know what I mean? Like, just the people I'm meeting, and the progress, that's, like, the 2 biggest things for me probably.
That's great.
Yeah.
Now that you have had such a wonderful encounter with a business lawyer, do you think that you would recommend to other entrepreneurs to work with a business
Oh,
lawyer?
100%. I think, in my case, now that it's just me, like but, like, oh, if I ever start a business, like, yes, like, I'd want it's not like because the thing that I worry about when I first show you the contract is, like, "Oh, I hope I'm covered." It's just, like, the fact that you never have to stress about it, like, the contract's done, like, you're good, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, now go make money, and you don't have to worry about anything that comes with it, and then when stuff does come, it's like you got your person. That kind of not having because there's so much stuff that piles up with a business, it's like, knowing you're protected, it's like it should, like, you should have it done, and then you're stress-free about it.
Right.
That's what I like, and I didn't know this, so I'm glad I do now, but, like, yeah, it's one of those things, like, you learn something about business, but, like, yeah, if I ever start another business, like, that'd be the first thing I do. That's why, because we were talking before this started, like, how you don't wanna charge like, someone will call you, like, "Help me set up my business with SunBiz." Like, you're like, "I'm not gonna charge someone my hourly to do a SunBiz." Like, I'll
Right.
tell you what to do, but I'm not gonna gouge you for money. But at the same time, it's like, if I was gonna start a business, I call you up and be like, hey, I'm going to start my business. Throw the Sun Biz in there, but let's also do a contract. Just get me on the legal side, everything I need to do. That is cool because like I didn't know what I was doing. And sometimes I sit there like, do I need to renew something or do I need to? I don't know any of that. But
Yeah, and
now,
that's
yeah.
great. When you work with a lawyer, especially, they'll always keep tabs on that. That's something that I tell clients, like, hey, guess what? We've got 6 weeks till the end of this year. Do some housekeeping, right? Like, especially if you got business partners, where are we with those agreements amongst business partners? What about your contracts with your clients or your vendors, your other business relationships, your employees, contractors? If we haven't gotten to them, let's start thinking about what we need to do, because going into Q1 next year, let's tighten it up, right? Let's do our housekeeping. Let's make sure everything is there. You're going to have to file annual reports. What about your business tax receipt? What about this? Are you working with a CPA? Do you have everything together for your tax planning for the business? Those are all things that it's a lawyer who will remind you of that,
Mhm.
and it is really important. And I'm glad to see that you like understand the value of what a business lawyer can do for you. I think that's great. And I'm glad that I helped you navigate that, because it is hard. And again, you only know what you don't know, right? There's
Yeah.
only so much. Um, but I definitely think that lawyers can get a bad rap overall, but more often than not, they want to
It's
help and
just the
they want
personal
to,
injury
yeah.
ones. No, but the one thing I will say that I've learned about, because like from the outside looking in, the word lawyer just sounds expensive, right? But then like
Mm,
I kind of got in perspective for the first time with like the ticket lawyer. It's like you could pay me or like you could pay thousands in insurance over the years because they honestly get happy when you get a ticket.
yep.
But it's like paying the lawyer is just the security. It's worth the money, which it's just something like I've realized, I guess, with maturity. But like you think it's such an expensive thing, but it's like, yeah, but then you have like a bad contract, you make a bunch of money, and then you have a divorce with your business partner, you lose so much because you didn't
Right.
spend the money up front. So that's what I've realized with just lawyers in general. It's always security for the most part. Like it's putting the money up first, and then it's gonna save you a lot of money. And if it
Yeah.
doesn't, you never had to stress about it, and if that's worth the money too.
Right.
Yeah,
It
but
is.
I don't
It's
know.
true. Um, so, obviously the podcast is called Navigating Complexity, and we talk about really, I hate the word balance because I don't really think you can balance life and personal and work and all of that. I really think it's a juggling act,
Mhm.
right? So, how do you, at this early stage of your career, juggle and navigate the complexity of being a business owner and being Cole outside of it and like having your own personal life?
I don't think I've done that good of a job at the same time, but I don't know. Like, I think it's one of those. It's like I always like it gives me something to do in the way that's like I have a bunch of free time, right? Like I'm young, I don't have a family, like I'm single, like it's like so I it gives me something. It's like last night I was here. It's like 11:30, right? And it's just like it's not that big of a deal, but give me something to do and I don't know, like, it's the laundry list thing, like, it's just showing up and knowing there's progress. There's not a lot of complexity with my business, I'd say.
That's great though.
I mean, my business is very simple, that's the thing, there's not
Is it that your business is simple or that you found a way to make the process simple for you?
I've definitely found processes that make it simple because, yeah, I think that's, like, one of those things that comes with business is, like, you save time, you know what I mean? Like, by doing it so much, you
Right.
learn how to save time and have processes, and so, like, because when I first started, I would have to edit everything myself, but now I have editors because it's like, I can't grow my business and sit at the computer all day
Right.
editing. Um, I don't know. I mean, I haven't like, super complexities. I don't know, maybe it's, like, the way I look at it, but
There's no wrong answer,
yeah, I don't know if I have a great answer to that because, like
I think you answered it. You
I think I'm
you found
fortunate.
well,
I think a lot of the complexities I've learned at a low cost, I would say that.
which is awesome, right?
Yeah.
Because you've leaned on a circle and you appreciate the shortcuts, because there are plenty of people who have been given that type of advice and they don't listen to it and they end
Mhm.
up doing things the hard way. You trusted in the advice or the direction and you were able to find a way to make it more simplified. Business doesn't have to be complicated, but it's not simple. And I think you should give yourself the credit that you've managed to create a streamlined process for yourself so that it doesn't feel complex and heavy.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I think the complexity comes from it's like business is hard. Like it's just hard. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? It's like one of the hardest things. It's probably the hardest thing I've done, but like the complexity comes from the less like the trial and error, which sucks. And like, because the thing is, we could be sitting here and this business could have got off to a great start, and then like it just died because like legal trouble. You know what I mean? It's like
for sure.
very lucky. Like a lot of the complexities. So I guess learning my mistakes and not letting them happen again. I don't know. I think I've been very lucky. So on that side, you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, I don't know. I really haven't had. I don't know. Maybe I don't look at it like that. I don't have a great answer to
But
it.
I think it is just that you look at things differently, you know? Maybe you're not looking at it in the same way that other people do, and that's okay. That doesn't mean that you don't have complexities in your life. You've just found a way to manage them, right? You said that you delegate, you have editors,
Yeah, now I
you see
do,
the
which
value in
I
in
didn't
investing
know.
in that because you're investing in yourself by
Yeah.
doing that. And that's one way you do it. You're also making sure that like you're doing things that prioritize your own priorities. Like what is important to you? Networking, establishing relationships with people, that's important to you.
Hmm.
You're not wasting your time elsewhere. I think that that's it. Like you have a clear vision, even if you don't see it yourself.
That's true. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Um. Yeah. I guess Yeah. I don't know. I'm trying to think, but I think you answered it. Um. Yeah. I don't know. You summarized it. I don't really have a great answer to it,
That's
which is
okay.
hopefully, I guess, good. Like
That's my
complex. Is
job.
complexity a positive word or just? It's
I
not a
think
positive word
I think
usually.
it's neutral, honestly.
Neutral.
I think you could say
I think
that.
the way the name is with neutral, the way you have it, navigating complexity, it sounds cool. Yeah, I got you.
Well, life has a ton of complexities. Business has a ton of complexities. We're always dealing with it. So much in life is hard, right? Business is hard. Relationships are hard. Not being in a relationship is hard. Not having a successful business is hard. You just have to choose your hard, right? And so, what of the complexities, the complex things in life are you willing to face? How are you willing to face it? And this podcast is designed to help business owners and entrepreneurs navigate that through other people's experience, right? So, hopefully, someone listened today and heard about how you got there and how you decided to take it slow, trust people that you know, and bet on yourself and get where you are now. And you don't have to be like everyone on social media who's like, oh, write down your goals and what's your goals for the
Yeah.
next 5 years. Maybe your goal is just, I need to pay my rent and I need to show up and, have a client come in. I want to sign a client this week. I want to have 5 shows to record today. And I want to be able to take out the trash
Yeah,
every day,
definitely.
not just every 2 weeks, right? So maybe those are the goals and maybe that's how we look at life. And those are all complex things on their own. And we just figure out how to like have this community that we lean on to navigate that together. And so I really appreciate you being here and talking to me about your experience.
Yeah, it
It's
was a
been
great
great.
talk. Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
So to our listeners, thank you for tuning in. This podcast is available on YouTube and all major platforms. If you enjoyed the show, please like, subscribe, leave a review. You can also reach out to me at www.dudai.legal. That's my website for the law firm. This has been a Dudai Legal production, and we'll see you on the next one.